Pacifica, this is Democracy Now!
And there comes a time in one's life when maybe one needs to do more than just talk and march and picket, and maybe go on a hunger strike, as I am now about to do, to change the opinion of the Egyptian government.
85-year-old Holocaust survivor Hetty Epstein. She's in Egypt as part of the Gaza Freedom March. More than 1,000 people who are planning to cross the border into Gaza, but the Egyptian government is saying no. We'll get a report from Cairo. Then, health care reform.
Unlike other new programs that improve the lives of many and were since strengthened to improve even more, programs like Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, progress and opportunity are what this historic bill represents.
We'll host a debate on the health care bill, not your typical debate between Democrats and Republicans, but between two outspoken critics of the health insurance industry. Wendell Potter, an insurance executive turned whistleblower who's supporting the bill's passage, and John Walker of Fire Dog Lake, who's urging Congress to kill the bill. But first, another anti-mining activist is killed in El Salvador. We'll get the latest, all that and more coming up. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. President Obama Monday vowed to track down the plotters behind the attempted Christmas Day airplane bombing attack. The president said the attack was a serious reminder of the danger the nation faces.
Directed my national security team to keep up the pressure on those who would attack our country. We do not yet have all the answers about this latest attempt, but those who would slaughter innocent men, women, and children must know that the United States will do more than simply strengthen our defenses. We will continue to use every element of our national power to disrupt, to dismantle, and defeat the violent extremists who threaten us, whether they are from Afghanistan or Pakistan, Yemen or Somalia, or anywhere where they are plotting attacks against the U.S. homeland.
President Obama also said he'd ordered a thorough review of the airport screening process to determine how the alleged bomber, Umar Farouk Abdulmuttalib, was able to fly into the United States.
Apparently, the suspect in the Christmas incident was in this system, but not on a watch list such as the so-called no-fly list. So I have ordered a thorough review, not only of how information related to the subject was handled, but of the overall watch list system and how it can be strengthened. The second review will examine all screening policies, technologies, and procedures related to air travel. We need to determine just how the suspect was able to bring dangerous explosives aboard an aircraft and what additional steps we can take to thwart future attacks.
In other developments, the Yemeni government confirmed the alleged bomber was in Yemen up until early December. Meanwhile, al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula has taken credit for the attack. In a message posted online, al-Qaeda said the attempted airplane bombing was in retaliation for U.S. airstrikes in Yemen. ABC reported last week President Obama had recently ordered military strikes in Yemen targeting a pair of suspected al-Qaeda training camps. Meanwhile, the Associated Press reports the two federal agencies charged with keeping potential terrorists off airplanes and out of the country have been without their top leaders for nearly a year. The Obama administration waited more than 8 months to nominate someone to lead the Transportation Security Administration and the Customs and Border Protection Agency. The Senate has yet to set a date to hold hearings for the Customs position, and Senator Jim DeMint, the Republican from South Carolina, has placed a hold on the president's choice to head the TSA over the senator's concern that the new leader, former FBI agent Errol Southers, would let TSA screeners join a labor union. Afghan President Hamid Karzai has condemned international forces for allegedly killing 10 civilians in military operations in the eastern Afghan region of Kunar. Karzai said most of the dead were schoolboys. NATO officials disputed Karzai's account, saying the target of the attack was a group of Taliban militants. Meanwhile, the United Nations reports the number of civilians killed in Afghanistan jumped by 10% during the first 10 months of 2009. The UN says at least 2,038 civilians died during that period. Iranian security forces are continuing to round up prominent dissidents following Sunday's mass street protests. Last night, police arrested Nushin Abadi at her home. She's the sister of the Iranian Nobel Peace Prize winner, Shireen Ebadi. Other dissidents arrested included Ali Reza Besheshti, a top aide to political opposition leader Mir Hossein Mousavi. Earlier today, Iran summoned the British ambassador in Tehran and accused Western countries of supporting the Iranian protesters. The meeting came one day after President Obama expressed solidarity with opponents of Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad.
The United States joins with the international community in strongly condemning the violent and unjust suppression of innocent Iranian citizens, which has apparently resulted in detentions, injuries, and even death. For months, the Iranian people have sought nothing more than to exercise their universal rights. Each time they have done so, they have been met with the iron fist of brutality, even on solemn occasions and holy days.
The White House has called on Israel to reverse its decision to build 700 new homes in occupied East Jerusalem. Last month, Israel announced a moratorium on settlement construction in the West Bank, except for occupied East Jerusalem. Ali Jarbawi, the Palestinian Minister for Planning, condemned Israel's move to build more settlements. Mark Regev, a spokesperson for the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, defended the construction plans. In other news from Israel, Jerusalem police arrested nuclear whistleblower Mordechai Vanunu on Monday on suspicion he violated his parole orders. Vanunu was released from prison in 2004 after serving an 18-year sentence for revealing details of Israel's nuclear weapons program. Israeli police accused Vanunu of meeting with foreigners. Vanunu's lawyer said Vanunu was arrested because he has a Norwegian girlfriend whom police have already interrogated. In Pakistan, 43 people died Monday in the city of Karachi when a Shiite procession marking the holy day of Ashura was attacked. Riots erupted after the bombing. Angry mourners torched hundreds of cars and shops, threw stones at ambulances, and fired bullets into the air. Shops, offices, and schools are closed in the city today after religious leaders called for a day of mourning. 2 Argentine men have wed in Latin America's first same-sex marriage. Alex Freire and Jose Maria de Bello were married in the southernmost state of Tierra del Fuego, where a pro-gay marriage governor welcomed the event. The couple had previously tried to marry in Buenos Aires, but their case became a contested legal battle. China's executed a British man after he was convicted of drug smuggling. Akmal Sheikh is believed to be the first European executed in China in 58 years. The British government condemned the execution, saying Sheikh had mental problems. In Texas, a man with ties to a white supremacist group has been arrested on capital murder charges after he allegedly shot dead a store owner in Liberty, Texas on Christmas night. Police said the alleged killer, Stevie Bubba Walder, is a known white supremacist who has a large swastika tattooed on his left bicep. The victim of the shooting was identified as 50-year-old Naushad Varani. Varani was working Christmas so his employees would have the night off with their families. The Council on American Islamic Relations has called on the FBI to determine whether hate crime charges should also be filed against Walder. And in Canada, the Olympic torch relay was disrupted Monday by protesters. During a chaotic incident, a woman carrying the Olympic torch was knocked over and fell to the ground. Police accused protesters of pushing the runner over, but protesters disputed this account and said no one purposely shoved her. One protester was charged with assault. Protesters were chanting "Homes, not games," and "No Olympics on stolen native land." The Olympic torch relay has been marred by protests since it began. Earlier this month, Indigenous members of the Six Nations declared that the Olympic torch could not pass through their territory. Vancouver will host the Winter Olympics in February. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. We begin today with